We unknowingly get in these patterns. We establish habits and routines that are comfortable and familiar, but what we don't realize is it's that familiarity, that desire to remain comfortable that keeps us stuck, that keeps us trapped in this cycle of disappointing ourselves. Hi, and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Joey. I am a full-time work from home, stay-at-home mom, an author, and the person that's going to encourage you to become the main character in your own life. Let's talk self-sabotage, shall we? You might be wondering if it's self-sabotage that you're experiencing, or if you're like me, you can be in complete and utter denial that it's self-sabotage that you're experiencing. I wanted to change my life. I wanted to accomplish these goals. So whenever someone would bring up self-sabotage, or my favorite, thanks to my therapist, was "you're getting in your own way," I would feel sincerely offended. Like, I'm sorry, you think I'm getting in my own way of accomplishing the things that I want to accomplish more than anybody else on this planet for myself to do? I want to do it, and you're telling me it's myself that's getting in the way of doing it? Well, I hate to break it to you, but it's probably true. So if you're not entirely sure of whether or not it's self-sabotaging behavior that you're experiencing, let's take a look at what some of the symptoms actually are. Okay, are you ready? Because there's a lot. The first is that you refuse to ask for help. I feel like I've admitted that a few times on this channel, that asking for help is something that's really hard for me to do. That's a classic sign of self-sabotage, by the way. Controlling or micromanaging behavior, picking fights or starting conflict with loved ones or colleagues, setting goals that are either too high or too low, avoiding or withdrawing from others, negative self-talk and extreme self-criticism, making excuses or blame shifting, undermining your goals and values, substance abuse, overspending or overdoing it in some other type of way, constantly seeking approval, and being reluctant to speak up for yourself. So if any of those resonated with you, don't worry, you're not alone. And if you're curious how you can quit this self-sabotaging behavior, because it is something that I've set out for this year to just obliterate. And that's part of this journey that we're on together right now. And through this conversation, I will reveal like the actual transparent side of how I'm tackling self-sabotage, because if you haven't figured it out already, I am in a pattern of self-sabotage, and I have been for years. We're gonna make it go away this year. So how can you stop self-sabotage? How can you get over that behavior? How can you stop that pattern? How can we get out of this cycle? The first thing that you'll need to do is become self-aware. And what I mean by that is you just need to get a little bit more familiar with what self-sabotaging behavior actually looks like for you. What does it feel like when you're in that pattern of self-sabotage? For me, there is a very specific feeling involved. I don't really know how to articulate it or describe it. It almost feels like a combination of like pent up energy and a little bit like depression, a little bit heavy. Like there's this momentum moving forward and something is literally pulling it backwards. And it's a very strange feeling. I experience it often. And so that's something that I'm aware of now, is that that's part of my self-sabotaging behavior, is I know what it feels like. If you are having a bit of trouble trying to identify or like even trying to become self-aware in this situation, a question that you can ask yourself is, or like you can frame a statement like, I want to blank. So I want to accomplish this one particular thing. I want to, ooh, I'm blurry. Yes, sir. So back to that framed statement. I want to blank, but I keep blank. Think about the things that you want to accomplish, you want to do, you want to feel, and then think about the one thing that you can pinpoint is keeping you from experiencing that thing. So for instance, for me, one of my goals, and we'll get into this in a minute, is to be better at marketing my book, right? Well, the thing that I keep doing to thwart that, to get in my own way with that, is I keep using the excuse, but I don't know what to do. So I want to market my book, but I keep telling myself I don't know what to do. That's the way to use that statement. So you really just want to become very aware of yourself. And I know that sounds kind of hard to do. So if that is something that you have a hard time doing, you want to start keeping a journal. And what you want to do in this journal is just kind of keep a tab on your day. You might want to write just a quick rundown of like what your day looked like, how you felt, what you were up to, how certain things unfolded. And what you'll start to notice is that you'll pick up on the pieces that you refer to often. In fact, a lot of times it's that you'll identify the things that you're complaining about the most, and you'll complain about them often, over and over and over again. And when you start to pick up on those patterns as you're going back and reading through your journals, which I know that's controversial. Some people say don't read back through your journals. I always read back through my journals. You'll start to identify kind of where the problematic behavior lies, and then you'll start to be able to identify potential ways that you can overcome that behavior, or you can do things differently and get a different outcome. Okay, the next thing that you'll want to do is make a plan and stick to it. Now, that might sound super easy and also terrifying at the same time. And for me, this is where things tend to crash and burn. I am totally great at being self-aware. I'm awesome at getting like the excitement and motivation to want to change something. But when it comes time to actually like sitting down and creating a realistic plan, one that I can actually carry through, I tend to get in my head and things go off the rail. So in the spirit of transparency, and I mentioned this earlier, I'm going to share with you the two things that I tend to self-sabotage and how I plan to overcome them. So the first thing, which I've already mentioned, is marketing my books, or being better about marketing my books. And the other thing is establishing a presence on YouTube. So how am I gonna fix this? What is my plan that I can stick to overcome these two problems with self-sabotage? The first is book marketing, right? How am I gonna overcome my inability to market my books? Well, I invested in a marketing strategy. I worked with a consultant. They came up with a marketing strategy for me, and it lays out specifically, line by line, what I need to be doing so I can stop using that excuse of, I don't know what to do. I now know what to do. I have a plan. I've invested money in it. So therefore, I'm a little bit more incentivized to carry through with it because I put money where my mouth is. And so that is how, with, self-sabotage, victim number one, book marketing, that's how I intend to tackle that one. As far as establishing a presence on YouTube, what's my plan? My plan is to be consistent. So you might not know this about me, but I had a YouTube channel years and years ago, like a decade ago, that I started, and I was not at all consistent with it ever. Like, I think I might upload a video twice a year. And when I lost my job last February, I decided to start this channel as a fresh start. And I was really consistent with it at the beginning. And then once again, I got in my head, I lost momentum, and I fell off the bandwagon. So how am I going to approach that this time? Just be consistent. My plan is to show up here every Monday. It's as simple as that. I'm just planning to be consistent. And that's something I know I can legitimately stick to. I'm not setting myself up for failure here. I know I can realistically upload a video every single week, one video every single week, and that's my plan. Okay, the next thing that you'll want to do is practice mindfulness. And that might seem a little bit odd in this case, but the thing that most people don't understand or realize is that self-sabotaging behaviors and self-defeating behaviors are actually oftentimes rooted in some type of past trauma. And so those behaviors, self-sabotage, self-defeating behaviors, are actually coping mechanisms. Somebody make that make sense? But they are. So as you set to overcome self-sabotage, what might end up happening is you'll stir up some uncomfortable feelings, or you might trigger some painful memories. And so it's very important that you remember to give yourself grace as you're working through this. Sometimes people encourage you to do like breath work, which does really help. I've become really obsessed with meditation, which nobody's more surprised by that than I am, because I am not a person that can sit still, and certainly not someone that can sit quietly for any length of time. So the fact that I've found myself actually really enjoying meditation is very surprising to me. If you are looking to get into meditation but need it with like training wheels on, I will link it down below. There's a Silva method playlist on Spotify. I really like the alpha session one. Okay, and finally, you'll need to communicate. Now, this might be the simplest step, but can also probably be the scariest for some of us. In fact, for me, I've admitted before that I don't communicate. I don't ask for help when I need it. I have a really hard time admitting when I'm scared, or when I'm uncomfortable, or when I'm embarrassed. And in fact, that is actually a symptom of self-sabotaging behavior. A lot of times we are afraid to have our insecurities be exposed. And a lot of times it's fear and embarrassment that are the things that we are most afraid of admitting to. And I'm actually really proud of myself because through the whole like hospital experience, I found myself admitting occasionally that like I was scared or I was embarrassed. Even as we were like walking into the ortho that afternoon, I said out loud to my mom, like through tears, like I'm embarrassed because obviously like people were looking at me. Sorry, the lighting is changing in here, so if that's annoying, I'm sorry. So yes, it seems counterintuitive, but being committed to communicating how you're feeling and what you need through this journey is really important. So find someone, whether it's your partner, your spouse, a best friend, a parent, a sibling, a therapist, a stranger on the internet. Find someone that can be your little buddy in this so that you can communicate how you're feeling as you're going through it. Also, that is my cat's tail whipping in the bottom. So yeah, anyway, as I was going through that experience at the hospital, it felt really strange to admit it loud that like, I'm afraid or I'm uncomfortable. But it felt strange, but it also felt oddly empowering. And I learned, and I'm learning, that a lot of times communicating the fear is the number one thing that can actually diffuse the feeling altogether. The truth is, we're all capable. That thing that you want, you can have it. That thing you want to accomplish, you can do it. We just have to break the habit of getting in our own way. So with that said, I'm gonna sign off. Thank you guys again so much for being here. I appreciate it so much. If you haven't already, go ahead and click subscribe. You guys can hang out with me every Monday, hold me accountable to this. And if you liked this video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up and let me know down below if you also suffer from self-sabotage, and if so, in what regard? Like, what is it the one thing that you want to do but you feel like you keep getting in your own way about? I will see you guys again very, very soon. Bye. Cami also says bye.